Welcome to the last video in the cygwin setup series. At this point I've gone back and I've run the cygwin setup program and I've installed the Lxde desktop environment. Lxde stands for Lightweight X11 Desktop Environment. You actually have several different desktop environments that you can choose from, but I recommend that you install the Lxde because it is, as the name implies, a very lightweight desktop environment, and it won't use up a lot of system resources. Here we're trying to essentially run two operating systems simultaneously. So it's a good idea to try and use as few resources as possible in our cygwin system. So when you rerun the cygwin setup program, you go to the Lxde category and then just select the Lxde-common package and install it. It will install other packages upon which it depends, so that we get a full-blown desktop environment under the X11 Windows system. Once installed, you'll get some additional menu entries here in your Windows Start menu under cygwin X. Just go to the Lxde menu icon and click on that, and then that will open up this desktop environment. Here, again, I'm running my X server in a Windows window. You can alternatively, run this full screen. I'm going to maximize it. I still have my Windows taskbar underneath, and I can still choose to switch between my different Windows applications using either Alt-Tab or the Windows taskbar. But now in my X11 window, I've got at the bottom of it an Lxde taskbar with some icons along the taskbar. On the back top, I can change my desktop preferences. I can choose to start up a terminal here. Lxde includes a new terminal, the LX terminal. So if I click on it, let me try that again, it will open up a new terminal window. I've also got a file manager, something like the Windows Explorer. I can also access that via my menu here. So under System Tools, the File Manager, I can drag and drop files and folders or create new files and folders using this file manager, much like you might do under Windows using the Explorer. Again, different desktop environments that are available may have different applications that you can use, but all of them will present an environment that's probably a little more comfortable to you than the basic environment presented by the TWM window manager that we looked at last time. So I can do my basic development here, Unix system development, start up Emacs. It's going to start up, of course, the X11 version of Emacs, and then when I get done ready to shut down the system, I can just come to the menu and click log out, and then click on the log out button again, and we'll shut down not only the desktop environment but the X11 server as well. Before I do that though, I want to show you something that's kind of a little different and unique about the X11 Windows system. I mentioned it uses a client-server architecture, and the server is this local X11 server that is shown here in this larger window, and then my various X11 clients are my file manager, Emacs, my terminal window, and things like that. One of the things you can do is actually run clients on a different machine and have them send their graphical output and receive input from an X11 display server running on a different machine. So I'll show you how to do that. First thing I have to do, first thing I'll show you is actually the traditional way for doing that, and then show you the modern more secure way for running remote applications. Traditionally, we'd use the xhost command to add a list of servers that can send their graphical output to the local machine. So just by typing xhost plus CS server, now it's been added to the access list. The IP address of CS server is actually 10.10.0.9, so it's been added to my xhost list. So now applications that are running on CS server can actually display content on my local machine, which is AR63-Win. So I'm going to actually first secure shell into CS server. I'm actually on the CS server local network, so I don't need to type in the complete domain name. I can just type in Richardson@CS server, but I'll use the complete name here and type in my password. If I try to run an application at this point, it says, oh, well, in that case, it's not actually even running, but let me try xterm. I get an error that Xeyes actually isn't even installed on CS server, so I couldn't run it. Xterm is installed, but if I try to run it, I get a different error message that the display environment variable is not set. So it can't run the program. So what I want to do is actually set that environment variable, but now I'm going to actually set it such that it points to this particular machine, my local machine, AR63-Win, .evansville.edu:0.0 specifies this particular X Windows display. I can actually run multiple X Windows servers on the same machine. I'm not going to get into that, but again, another interesting feature. Now, if I run xterm, I get an xterminal window, and this xterm is actually running on CS server, but it's sending its graphical window across the network to my local machine. I can do an ls. Of course, these commands are all taking place and being run actually on CS server. The input I type on my local machine is actually being collected by the this xterm application running on CS server. So one of the things you will want to be careful with if you do have multiple windows open, like I do now. One is actually on my local host, and the other is on CS server. So just be a little careful and keep track of which server your different windows are connected to. Another interesting thing I guess I could do here is I don't have the Octave program even installed locally. It is installed on CS server, so again, I can run that program there on a different machine and see the output of the program actually on my local display. So let me just type in peaks, which will present a basic a 3D graph of a mathematical function, and then actually exit the application. So this is again kind of the traditional way that you would display graphics remotely. Use xhost to give another machine access to your display, and then I'd have to set the display environment variable up appropriately. One of the issues with this method is it's not very secure. Actually, with the way I've used xhost, not only just my applications running on CS Server, but any other user at this point could set their display environment variable to my machine and actually send graphical output to my local X11 server. So that's not really desirable. So let me log out of CS Server. So now I'm back at my local machine. And now I'm going to remove CS Server from my access list. Again, I can just type CS Server because it's on my local. I'm on that local network, and so now I've removed that. Now, if I tried to secure shell in as I did previously and set the display environment variable, those applications wouldn't have permission to actually display content on this on my local X11 display server. So the more modern way to do this that's more secure is using secure shell forwarding, and so I just run the secure X11 forwarding via secure shell. So I just use the -y option, and then Richardson at CS Server. And you may have to type in the full domain name, csserver.evansville.edu. And that's it. I don't even have to. Set the display. I'm not even sure the secure shell is actually doing something a little interesting here. It's setting up a dummy display variable, but now when I run applications, I don't have to set the display variable myself. Secure shell takes care of that for me. But now when I run applications remotely, their graphical content actually appears on my local machine. Not sure what happened with the sombrero routine. It's typically part of Octave, but for some reason it didn't. Oh, I got used to putting ampersands after stuff. That was the issue. Don't need the ampersand in Octave. It interpreted it as something else. So here's the sombrero display. So I think that's it. We've covered kind of the basics of getting the cygwin system up and running, and then also now getting kind of a workable X11 display system up and running so that you can do development on this system. Again, the best way to shut down the system is could close down the X display server, but a little more user-friendly or maybe system-friendly way to do this, which will close the applications a little more gently, is just to log out and then click log out again, which will close my X11 display. Okay, that's it. I'm going to try and produce a series of videos on now installing Ubuntu actually in a virtual machine, so that in addition to working under cygwin, you can also work under a virtual machine in either Windows or a Mac OS to get another way to get a Linux-like experience.